forget to like, comment, and subscribe because this is a show by the people, for the people, and you, my friends, are my people. So jump in, comment, be a part of our growing community because that's just the way we like it. In today's program, Florida stuns Houston with a second half comeback to win the national championship. The Dodgers visit the White House. We got a generous helping of Super 70 Sports tweets as always, but let's begin with Stephen A. Smith. That's right, ESPN's number one talker is talking again, not about LeBron James at this moment, but about his political aspirations. Stephen A. sure does protest the idea of being drafted into politics by a Democratic Party that's desperate for leadership. Stephen A. loves every minute of it. Remember when LeBron said Stephen A. was sitting at home in his tighty whities eating his ice cream, so excited to find out that LeBron was talking about him on Pat McAfee's show? Stephen A., whenever anybody says anything about Stephen A. being the president of the United States, Stephen A. gets out the ice cream and he's into it. Let's face it. So the latest here in the Stephen A. flirtation with going to Washington is Stephen A. doesn't want to do it, but he might have to do it. Time to stop messing around. Life is great, especially at ESPN Disney. Hate the thought of being a politician, but sick of this mess. I'm officially leaving all doors open. Well, okay. You're thinking about it. Are they actually going to come to him? Is Pelosi and Schumer, everybody, they're going to show up at Stephen A.'s house and they're going to say, Stephen A., rescue us. We are so bereft of ideas. We have no other viable options. We want the guy from First Take. Will you do it? And then Stephen A. has to go somewhere and do drugs with Aaron Rodgers in a cave while he decides on what he should do with his future. Okay, I have mixed feelings on this, all right? First of all, it's ridiculous. The idea that Stephen A. thinks that he can be president. On the other hand, it's even more ridiculous that when I look at the alternatives right now for 2028 that the Democrats have, I'd be voting for Stephen A. Who else? You got Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania. You got Fetterman in Pennsylvania. Okay, once we exhaust Pennsylvania, what do the Democrats have that they're going to run in 2028? Is Kamala going to come back? No, Tim Walz thinks he's going to run. I don't think that's going to happen. Gavin Newsom's going to run, but Gavin Newsom's so slimy. He looks like Joel Osteen's personal injury attorney, this motherfucker. And California's been a train wreck, so I don't know how that's going to go for Gavin Newsom. He's trying to move back towards the center. We'll see if that happens. Could I see Stephen A. on a Democratic presidential debate stage in 2028? I'm going to be honest with you. I could. I don't think he's just completely saying it for the sake of saying it. I think that his ego, his massive ego, could lead him into the race in 2028. Now, we'll see. I'm not predicting it'll happen. But could it happen? I think it could happen. I think the bigger question is why on earth would you want to? This is for anybody. You watch politics in this world, you see what are said about politicians online and elsewhere. We saw Donald Trump. He had two different people try to kill him last year. Who would want to sign up for that job? That's the thing. For like all of the criticisms that you could make of Donald Trump could have had an easier life taking the incredible amount of money that he has and just going somewhere and coasting to the finish line of his life. And now, like him or hate him, whatever your opinion is, he's been embroiled in the hottest heat that there is in our society for about a decade. Who wants that smoke? Who wants that smoke? Even if you're somebody that has good ideas, even if you're somebody who is concerned and wants to help your fellow citizens, do you want the smoke? Stephen A's got a great gig. He's talking about life at ESPN and Disney is great, he says. But I might have to do this. I might be called to help my country. Think about it hard, Stephen A. Think about it hard. You got one of the best gigs in the entire world. If you somehow stumble your way into Washington and find yourself in the White House, you might be getting a prize that you don't want, my friend. Is what I have to say. And if you don't make it to the White House, Pizza Hut's hiring. You ever want to leave ESPN? You want to look for new endeavors? Move forward in your life? Head on down to Wing Street, motherfucker. R.I.P. Larry. Now hiring managers. Man, ain't that the ruthless nature of life? Larry, you had a hell of a run, but we got a business to run here. It can't be flowers and memories forever. We got wings and pizza to sling, and we got to have somebody to come in here and fill your shoes. As great as you were, Larry, Stephen A. could come in and do it. It's preposterous how these wings have been prepared. They're not up to corporate standards. I don't know. Maybe he could do it. This is my first time. This will be the first and last time I ever imitate Stephen A. Smith, by the way.
Are you serious?
Florida. I am, I think. Last night, Florida comes back, a furious second half comeback. They beat Houston 65-63, I believe it was. The final score. Is that the final score? I feel like that was the final score. I believe it was. Man, look, Houston. All right, there you go. Yeah, the worst three-point attempt in the history of hoops. Dr. Naismith put the basket up, and last night we saw the worst fucking three-point effort that has ever happened in the history of basketball. Went up, lost it, came back down, at least had the presence of mind not to touch it. He knew it was going to be a double dribble, so he stood there and waited for one of his teammates to run over and grab it and do something with it. And there wasn't enough time, and Florida got to it first anyway. It was a deflating ending for Houston. Kind of the opposite of when Houston was in the championship game in 1983, I would say to you. But there they are, your 2025 national champions. Look, maybe I'm just being a dick. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't think they're that fucking great. Maybe it's just the state of college basketball. Houston almost won this thing despite the fact that they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat as a team. I'm calling them Phi Canna Shooter. 38% from the field against Duke, somehow managed to beat them. And how did they do it? That suffocating defense that they had. Their defense is incredible and their offense is incredibly fucking terrible. 35% from the field against Florida. You can't go to the Final Four, shoot under 40% in both of the Final Four games and expect to take home the Natty. Let's go back to 1983. Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler era. Houston Cougars. Derek Whittenburg, some of you remember this. I've said it's the greatest Cinderella run in the history of college basketball, and I believe that. North Carolina State Wolfpack, Jim Valvano. Go back. If you're unaware, there's a great documentary about this. Find it somewhere and watch it. Because if you don't know the story of the 83 Wolfpack, man, it's you couldn't make a movie that was as inspirational as what they did on that run. Whittenburg fires up an air ball. Lorenzo Charles plucks it out of midair. Says, that's all right. We'll call it an alley-oop. Dunks it home, and they knock off Hakeem the Dream and Phi Slamma-Jamma. That is the pinnacle of chucking up a jump shot in the final seconds, even though it wasn't the way that North Carolina State drew it up. They got the result they wanted. Last night, that sucked. And after they held Walter Clayton Jr. scoreless in the first half. That's the thing. If you had told me going into that game. Hey, guess what? Walter Clayton Jr., the first player in the NCAA tournament since Larry Bird with back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite Eight. You're going to tell me that guy is not going to get on the board in the first half. I would say go ahead and start cutting down the nets, Houston, because this thing is over. The one guy that you had to worry about, you completely shut him down, somehow end up losing the game anyway. And Clayton's numbers ended up not being very good. He scored 11 in the second half, 3 field goals, 3 of 10 from the field. And Houston loses anyway. That has got to sting. It's going to sting for a while. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, chiming in with a tweet about this, a post about this. I still call them tweets. Damn it. He says, after tonight's championship win, the list of universities that have won 3 national championships in both football and baseball, the University of Florida. Football and basketball, rather. The University of Florida, end of list. I'm stunned by that. I would have thought that there was another university somewhere. Until last night, there was nobody that had 3 of each. But I guess when you think about it, Duke sucks at football. North Carolina suck at football. Kentucky suck at football. UCLA hasn't done a goddamn thing at football in a long time. Kansas sucks at football. UConn, do they even fucking play? You think about it, it's like, wow, that's actually pretty good. So, congratulations to Florida on a big win. I lost $50 on it. I'm going to talk to Ronnie about that in just a little bit and tell you my sad story. Trey Wallace, here's one for you guys. Trey Wallace, friend of the program, one of my favorite OutKick personalities and a guy that I always love to have on this show. He lost a bet. Now, Ronnie and I had the bet where the loser of our NFL picks last year had to drink an IPA on the show, and Ronnie choked one down and, paid off the bet. But now this is a different kind of bet. I don't know who Trey made this bet with, but he made a bet that if he lost, he would have to give his Final Four predictions from a fucking goat coaster. What's a goat coaster? Somebody want to tell me what a goat coaster is? I don't know. It's a little roller coaster. Take a look at this and we'll sort it out later. Trey Wallace paying off a bet in a humorous fashion.
Well, I'm on a goat coaster right now, going up the side of the Smoky Mountains. Thought it'd be a perfect time to give my Final Four predictions. In San Antonio this weekend, it's going on. Houston versus Duke. And then we're going for it. Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, here we go. We're going down the... Oh, my God. I am going to die. I'm going to die. So this upcoming weekend, you've got Houston and Duke playing in the Final Four. I really love Houston's defense after watching them this past weekend. Duke, on the other hand, has Cooper Flagg. Number of high-scoring players. This one's going to be a battle. I do think Houston's going to win the game. I think that they upset Duke this weekend. In the other matchup, you've got Auburn versus Florida. Shit!
Be careful. Did Trey make it? Is everything okay there? So what the fuck is a goat coaster? Is what I want to know. I'm being told that that's a goat coaster. Somebody tell me. Cooper Flagg. That reminds me of the Armando Salguero, who, by the way, a little foreshadowing, Armando Salguero will join us later in the program to talk some NFL. I remember when he rode the Anthony Richardson roller coaster in one of the early segments on this program. So Trey kind of looked like that. Trey, brother, way to go. Good sport. Great guy. But, geez. You know what? A lot of people in the Final Four, some people, their favorite team was Duke. Some people, their favorite team was Auburn. Some people were rooting for Florida last night. Some people were rooting for Houston. But the real squad, the real team in the Final Four, it was the fucking Final Five because these motherfuckers were on my TV constantly. Nothing against them personally, but I didn't need to see this much of the officials. If we got the tweet, There they are. Final Four MVPs of screen time. That guy, do you realize what it cost for national advertising during a ball game? The millions of dollars that are paid by companies to get the kind of screen time that these guys were getting. Hey, let's go. Hey, there's a ball that goes off of somebody. Everybody and their mother. Stevie Wonder and Jose Feliciano know who it went off of. But let's take 5 fucking minutes to go and confirm the obvious. Because that's what we need to do. Because basketball needs more stoppages in play in the final few minutes. Because that's what the doctor ordered. I don't want to see the game move. Let's go review stuff for forever. This is what I don't understand about instant replay. We had a play in the Duke-Houston game where a ball went off of a Duke player's foot, as I recall, and they couldn't review it because, well, you can't review it at that juncture in the game. But we get to a certain point at the end, and we will analyze every fucking thing that happens like it's the Zapruder film. I don't know. Look, I'm not anti-instant replay, but I think in almost every sport, we can figure out ways to streamline it and make it better. I don't need to see that much of the referees in the closing moments of a big game. Slows down everything, messes up the rhythm of the game. They got to do something to tighten it up. The Dodgers made their way to the White House on Monday to accept their accolades and visit the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and Shohei Ohtani, of course, among those in attendance at the White House. And let's take a look at President Trump and the greatest living baseball player, maybe the greatest living athlete.
Boy, oh boy, what an athlete.
And 3, 2, 1.
You know what you do? And for your family. This is so great to have you. It's a great honor. You're an amazing athlete in person. Have a good time. Take a picture by the Declaration of Independence. It's good. That's a good one.
3, 2, 1.
White guy. Thank you.
There he is. And Ohtani's an impressive guy. Unfortunately, then Trump put him on an airplane and sent him back to Japan. You may have gotten overzealous. Thank you, Ron. Thank you guys for that. That would be, yes. Anyway, so get out of here. You're not a citizen. Here's the entire team. Let's take a look at the Dodgers happily posing. Trump got his 47 jersey. There's Clayton Kershaw up front. And, there they are. Look, and again, partisanship aside, I know that there's some people, the people with Trump derangement syndrome are like, oh my God, Clayton Kershaw standing next to a Nazi. This is disgusting. I hate the Dodgers. Look, go and do that no matter who the president is. I mean, it's just, we've got to hold on to some of our cultural traditions if we're going to have any chance of coming back together and achieving some kind of normalcy. Republicans and Democrats have been going at it bare knuckle style my entire life. But in the 80s and the 90s and even in the early 2000s, there was at least some room for getting along with each other on some level. So that's one thing. Like, whoever the president is, go to the White House. There's so much stuff that's been there. Even if you don't like the current president, you can soak in the aura of the past presidents that you do like and just appreciate American history, because the White House is bigger. Ultimately, the institution itself is bigger than whoever the individual is who's in the office at that time. And I think you'd hate to look back on it 30 or 40 years later and say, yeah, I could have gone to the White House and been a part of something special that few people could even dream of experiencing, but I didn't do it because I was pissy about who the president was at the time. That's perspective, I think. Let me now bring in a man who always brings perspective to this program. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star, who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee. He is, of course, Ronnie T-shirts. Ronnie, the Dodgers on hand at the White House. Even Mookie Betts was there.
Yeah, he called Mookie out,
had
too.
Declined to go. Yeah, he declined to go when
called him out in a good way.
Red Sox won.
Need to say he called him out in a good way.
Yeah. Recognized him for coming. Mookie Betts had said that he regretted not going the last time that he had the opportunity to be there. And this time he went and experienced it. And good for Mookie. You know, it's like, just because we act civil with one another doesn't mean that we endorse each other's opinions, because you can go and say, hey, thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be at the White House. Pose for a picture, walk around, experience the American history that you're privileged to be soaking in. That doesn't mean that Mookie Betts is necessarily going to vote for Donald Trump, that he agrees with him on policy. It just means that we can be adults, is how I see it, Ron. Now that I have talked about how to be an adult, I'm going to tell you about something very immature that I did last night, but that you can probably relate to.
I want to stop you for a second, because I had an idea and I want to get it out, and I'm old now and I forget things. So did you see when Ohtani was in Trump's office, he started to walk away and then Trump reached into a box and handed him a medallion? I think we should make sweet bastard medallions. So anytime anybody comes into contact with you, you can just kind of reach into your pocket and hand them a sweet bastard medallion. I think it would be amazing.
That's my question. As long as I don't have to pay for it, I'll carry. I just thought it was really funny that it was like Trump just assumed, hey, you want a memento of your time with me, so here's a medallion. And
he gave him two.
He gave him two.
He gave him two for his family.
Yeah. Does he have a medallion drawer?
No, he had that little box. There was a box on his desk.
Well,
hey, the medallions would have come in handy at Wrigley instead of showing people the website or giving a business card, Ricky. I think Ron may be onto something here.
All right. Well, there you go. From your lips to God's ears, maybe that's what we need. All right.
All right. So sorry for interrupting you. Sorry for interrupting you.
It's all right.
What'd you do?
I'll give you a pass.
All right.
All right. Well, as you know, I won $100 on Houston on Saturday night.
Yep.
And so, you know how it is. Like, no matter how bad you are at gambling, you get a couple of nice wins and your chest starts to puff out a little bit.
You think you're good at gambling.
You start to get that swagger. Yeah, it's like that feeling when you make a couple of three-pointers in a row and suddenly you're like, I'm fucking Steph Curry, motherfucker. Pass me the ball.
Yep.
So we had Dockich on. I wasn't going to bet again on the NCAA tournament. And then Dockich comes on and gives this crackerjack analysis yesterday of like how hot Houston's defense was. And I'm thinking, man, they shut down Duke, one field goal in the last 10 and a half minutes with the best player in college basketball on the court. And I thought, man, I don't see it with Florida. I like this. I'm going to put $50 on Houston. All right, say it's $50. They're up 12. I think I've got this. They blow it, lose the game. And so I did the thing that, this is the reason that gambling is so fucking evil.
You chased it.
I chased it. I texted my friend Brent in Minnesota and I said, give me, and every game's in progress by then, right? Like every game's in progress. So I text my friend Brent and I say, look, give me an NHL bet that you like right now. And he's like, games that are going on right now? I'm like, games that are going on right now. I just lost money on Houston and I want to win it back right fucking now because I'm an insane person. So he tells me the LA Kings, and you know what a hockey guy I am. The LA Kings are behind the Seattle Kraken 2-1 in the first period. He says, look, he said, I love LA. They need it. The game is relevant to them for playoff seeding. Seattle doesn't have anything to play for. Put it on the LA Kings.
So money line. You have money line in game.
Money line in game. They were behind 2-1. It was like plus 100.
Okay.
Okay. So wasn't a crazy bet. And I went ahead and I made it, and the Kings never scored another fucking goal the rest of the night. So how to lose $50, get pissed, and make it $100 by Ricky Cobb. That'll be my new gambling handbook that'll be coming out at some point. Ron, let's talk about the women's NCAA tournament. There were so many people that were wondering what the absence of Caitlin Clark was going to mean for the ratings and the interest level of this tournament.
Won't change it at all. It won't change it at all, Ricky, because everybody loves women's basketball.
Changed it a little bit, as it turns out, Ron. I know, to everyone's surprise. Dave Portnoy tweeting about it. Let's take a look at this. Dave saying, I'm going to need all the race baiters who explain Caitlin Clark's popularity simply because she's white to explain why 10 million more people watched her last year than Paige Beckers, who's also white, this year. I'll hang up and listen. Last year, a record 18.9 million viewers. That shattered the existing record. This year, 8.5 million. So down over 50%, down over 10 million viewers. Christine Brennan tweeting about this as well. If we can get this, it'll give you a little more context on these television numbers. Christine Brennan, in 2021, she tweets that there were 4.1 million viewers of the NCAA Women's National Championship game. 2022, it went up to almost 5 million. 2023, that is the first Caitlin Clark year. That's the year that we were all like, hey, wait a minute, who is this girl? Then it almost doubled when she came back the second year, and we all knew who she was, and we had the ability to look forward to it and anticipate it more. And then this year it goes back down. But I think the thing that's encouraging for the women's game is that this year's result, if you compare it to 2022, when nobody knew who Caitlin Clark was really, unless you were a hardcore women's basketball fan, they've retained a significant level up from that. Now we'll see what happens in 26 and beyond, but I actually think that 8.5 number is not that discouraging. Ron?
I agree with you on it's not discouraging, excuse me, and we do need to wait. Like, I need to see that number be 8 million again next year, because I'm not quite sure. It's, Juju can go to the WNBA this year if she wants. Is that true or not true? I mean, I know she's hurt, so it'll be interesting. But who's the star of women's college basketball now? It's Juju. She's the only person anybody knows, and so I don't know, dude. I need to see these numbers for the next year or two before I can make the determination on whether it's a viable kind of sport for TV. 4 million to take out Caitlin's to 8 million. Yeah, that's great, but there's definitely still some carryover from what Caitlin brought those 2 years. So I'm going to need to see, one, if it can keep going, and are there going to be any other women's basketball players that emerge as must see? And that's the big question.
The question is it sustainable?
Correct.
And can it move the needle, not just for a year or two after she's gone, but what's it going to look like in 5 years? What's it going to look like in 10 years? Did she permanently raise the baseline? And that is going to be dependent upon the quality of the play going forward, because if there aren't any players that are grabbing people's interest in a big way, those numbers are probably going to continue to taper off.
Yeah, Ricky,
so,
I really don't think
stars.
I really don't think that number would have been 8.5 million if UConn had not been in the Final Four. I mean, there's no question that a lot of million, I don't know how many million, but a lot of million were there because of Paige. I she has to have carried that. And so we've got to see what happens when there are no massive names. And you have to understand, man, Paige is not a player that just came into our consciousness right now. She's been around for 5 years. People have known about her for 5 years. So it's not like she's some new girl on the scene and like, oh, we got to check her out. So she has been building a following. So again, Ricky, let's give it a couple more years and see what happens, because I'd like to see like the numbers for like the Sweet 16 this year. How were the Sweet 16? Because I didn't consume any women's basketball until the Final Four. And I wonder how many other people are like me.
Ronnie, we are about to be joined now by Ricky Cobb Show women's basketball correspondent, producer Tim.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the program.
Senior correspondent?
Producer Tim. Senior. Yeah, he is senior women's basketball correspondent, producer Tim. Connecticut's favorite son.
The Nutmeg State.
Joining the program now. Welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on those numbers and the state of women's basketball at the college level as we move past now, not just the Caitlin Clark era, but the Paige Bueckers era is over as well?
Look, I have to tell you, a decade and a half ago, it was, well, if you want pure basketball, if you want real passing, go see a women's game, right? Like, I think that was sort of cute. Fundamentals. In the last 10 years, it's that and so much more. It's aggressive defense. It's incredible ball handlers, not just Paige, not just Juju, go down the list, Caitlin. And they've expanded. They're shooting skill, pure shooter. Look, it's a real deal. I could just tell you, in a small state like Connecticut, yes, the men are often champions, but this, no doubt, is a Lady Husky state. Always has been, always will be, on the back of Gino and what they've done. Look, I will admit that it's not just me. I have family and friends who have gone to, I've never been to, I was at WNBA games years ago. I don't think that really counts. There's a certain passion behind the women's game that's undeniable now. Yes, there was a drop off. I'm glad Christine Brennan put that tweet out there. It's elevated. It continues to elevate. It's a sought after package now, right? On the TV side of things, it was a throw in. If you want wrestling, if you want track and field, you got to take the women's game. All those days are gone now. And certainly Caitlin has helped elevate it even beyond.
Look, I mean, we all knew that the numbers were going to drop off. It was just a matter of how much they drop off. I mean, even at the WNBA level, they need more marquee players. There's only so much she can do. Now, look, I agree with Dockich. What he said on the program yesterday, Portnoy's bringing race into it and saying, like, hey, the people that say Caitlin Clark was a big deal just because she's white, what do you think now when the premier player in the Final Four was another white girl and the ratings weren't nearly the same? And I get what he's saying, but I really think it's about what Dockich said on the show yesterday. Caitlin Clark plays a style of game with which we were all unfamiliar with in the women's sport. Because I will never forget the first time that I saw Caitlin Clark was a video clip that was on X. And I just wasn't looking for it. It was up. I saw it. And I just remember it was a moment. Like I remember.
Yeah, I love how you described it. It was like the record scratch. You were like, what the fuck is that? Rewind that. Yeah.
Yeah. She pulled up from 30 and buried a three like Steph Curry. And I had never seen anything like it before. And so it was just all about the eye test. I mean, obviously she's got the numbers. She led the country in scoring and assist all 4 years of her career. That's something that'll probably never happen again in men's or women's basketball. But it's the eye test with her. It's the way she plays the game. And Dockich said it yesterday. Paige Bueckers is a great player. Diana Taurasi is a great player. There have been a lot of great women's players, but there is a singular player who has played the type of game that Caitlin Clark plays, And that is the reason for her popularity. Did her
Yeah.
whiteness hurt her popularity? No, I don't think it did, just to be completely honest. I don't think Larry Bird's whiteness hurt his popularity either, but it's not the reason that they became popular. They became popular for doing incredible things. And the fact that Bird was a white guy, that was a bit of a novelty, right? We all know it. I mean, the joke's Nolan Richardson's speech that he gave during his Hall of Fame induction, where he was talking about the first time he ever heard of Larry Bird. It was on the radio. And he said, I don't know who this Bird kid is, but that brother can play. Yeah. Yeah, another assist by Bird. Bird makes a good play. Bird. Yeah, it's so great.
Damn, that brother can
never
play.
Seen it. Yeah,
phenomenal.
man. And it's still part of it, you know, and the WNBA is a predominantly black league. So the fact that she's a white girl, that plays into it some, but race is not the reason. It's not the reason. The reason is the incredible talent and the incredible play.
Ricky, I can tell you anecdotally here, Dockett, you're saying how your eye is drawn to Caitlin. It's not totally always drawn to Paige, to be honest with you. And maybe it's because she's surrounded by other stars. There could be any number of reasons, but she has an it factor, but it's not the only it factor. Having been to a bunch of games, yes, the crowd maybe gets a little more amped when she shoots, but it's not the end all be all, right? Like having seen Taurasi play, having go down the list, Nika Mule, even who wasn't even a great pure scorer. I think you're right that Caitlin, Iowa, something about it, something the way she did it, but holy cow, the fluidity and the grace and the way she plays. Like,
Tim, I say this with all respect. I do not mean this to come off as some misogynistic, backhanded swipe at women's basketball.
Getting
Caitlin
ready.
Clark plays like a man.
Yes.
Caitlin Clark plays like a man.
That was my other
And
point, Ricky. This year she's bulked up,
that's
man.
what
It'll
it
be
is.
very curious to
Yes.
see. She's put on muscle. She's not going to be pushed around. Yes, she absolutely. I don't think you're being
She plays like
misogynistic
a
at
man.
all.
Even Juju Watkins, as talented as she is, there's a feminine quality about. I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark doesn't have feminine qualities. I'm just saying, like, the way she moves, the style of her game.
Yes,
She plays like a dude.
it's an in your face
I think
thing.
That is what caught all of our. That's what caught all of our eyes.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.